A 71-year-old economist turned a Caribbean island from economic collapse into 4 straight years of growth. And now he faces the ultimate test at the ballot box. Imagine leading a country that just crashed harder than any time in living memory. The economy dropped 24% in 1 year. Unemployment was through the roof. Businesses were closing. People were leaving. The government had no money and mountains of unpaid bills. Now imagine you are the one who has to fix it all. This is exactly what happened to Philip J. Pierre when he became Prime Minister of St. Lucia in July 2021. And what he did next shocked everyone. Born on September 18, 1954. In a neighborhood called Waterworks in Castries East, Philip grew up in a working family. His mother Evelyn was a school teacher. His father August was a policeman. They were not rich people. They were regular folks who believed in hard work and education. From an early age, Philip learned important lessons from his parents. His mother taught him to give his best while serving others with humility. His father showed him the importance of honesty and dedication. These values stayed with Philip his entire life. Philip went to St. Mary's College, a school he is very proud of to this day. He was a good student who loved learning. After finishing school, he knew education was his path to a better future. He enrolled at the University of the West Indies and graduated with honors. He got a Bachelor of Science degree in economics and later earned a master's degree in business administration. This education gave him something special. He understood how money works, how economies grow, and how governments should manage finances. These skills would become crucial decades later. After graduation, Philip did not jump straight into politics. He started as a teacher at St. Mary's College from 1972 to 1973. Then he moved into the business world. He worked as a trainee manager at a company called Duke Charles Limited. After that, he entered the finance industry. He worked as an audit clerk at Coopers & Lybrand, checking financial records for companies. He moved up to become an audit senior at Panel Kerr Forster, then became financial controller at Stanther Company Limited. He was learning how money flows through businesses, how to spot problems, and how to find solutions. From 1985 to 1994, Philip served as director of the National Research and Development Corporation. He also started his own business, Philip J. Pierre Business Services Limited, which he ran from 1990 to 1997. He was becoming known as someone who understood economics and finance. He was the guy people called when they had money problems to solve. In 1985, Philip joined the St. Lucia Labour Party. Politics interested him because he saw it as a way to serve more people, to make bigger changes. The party recognized his talent with numbers, so they made him party treasurer from 1986 to 1992. He managed the party's money, made sure they spent wisely, and kept everything organized. Then in 1992, he decided to run for a seat in Parliament. He wanted to represent Castries East, the area where he grew up, but he lost that election. It was a tough blow, but Philip did not give up. He became the party chairman from 1990 to 1996, learning more about leadership and strategy. In 1997, he tried again to win Castries East. This time, he won. At 43 years old, Philip J. Pierre entered Parliament as a member of the House of Assembly. The St. Lucia Labour Party won that election, and the leader Kenny Anthony became Prime Minister. Philip was given an important job. He became Minister for Tourism, Civil Aviation, and International Financial Services from 1997 to 2000. He was now handling huge parts of the economy. Philip kept winning his seat in Castries East. He won again in 2001, in 2006, and in 2011. In December 2011, he reached a major milestone. He was sworn in as Deputy Prime Minister, the second most powerful person in the government. He also became Minister for Infrastructure, Port Services, and Transportation. He was now in charge of building roads, bridges, ports, and all the physical structures that keep a country running. During this time, Philip earned a reputation. He was the detail guy. He knew the numbers. He could explain complicated things in simple ways. He was not flashy or loud. He just got things done. In 2016, the political winds shifted. The St. Lucia Labour Party lost the election to the United Workers' Party. Philip kept his seat in Castries East, but his party was now in opposition. Kenny Anthony, who had led the party for years, decided to step down as leader. The party needed someone new. On June 18, 2016, they chose Philip J. Pierre. He became the new political leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party and the leader of the opposition in Parliament. At 61 years old, Philip was starting the biggest challenge of his career. For the next 5 years, Philip led the opposition. He watched the United Workers' Party government closely. He criticized their decisions. He pointed out problems. He proposed alternatives. He was preparing for his moment. And that moment came in the 2021 election. Philip led the St. Lucia Labour Party into battle against the ruling party. On July 26, 2021, voters went to the polls. The results were stunning. The St. Lucia Labour Party won 13 out of 17 seats in Parliament. The United Workers' Party was crushed, winning only 2 seats. 2 independent candidates won the remaining seats. It was a landslide victory. 2 days later, on July 28, 2021, Philip J Pierre was sworn in as the 10th Prime Minister of St. Lucia. But here is what makes his story interesting. Philip did not just become Prime Minister. He walked into a disaster. The COVID-19 pandemic had destroyed St. Lucia's economy. Remember, this is a small island that depends heavily on tourism. When the pandemic hit and travel stopped, everything collapsed. The economy dropped 24.4% in 2020. That is the worst economic crash in St. Lucia's modern history. Businesses went bankrupt. People lost jobs. The government was running out of money. There were unpaid bills everywhere. The previous government had left millions in debts to suppliers, contractors, and workers. Philip took over in the middle of this chaos. To make things worse, global problems were piling up. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. That war sent food prices and fuel prices skyrocketing worldwide. Inflation was hitting everyone. Supply chains were broken. Ships could not deliver goods on time. Grocery stores in St. Lucia saw prices climbing week after week. Gas stations kept raising their prices. People were struggling to afford basic necessities. Some critics thought Philip would fail. They said the problems were too big, the economy was too damaged. But Philip had a plan. He assembled a team of public servants and private sector experts. Together, they created policies to save businesses and create jobs. They gave massive tax breaks to companies that were about to close. They forgave millions in back taxes through amnesty programs. They gave subsidies on flour, cooking gas, and basic food items to help families. They increased pensions for retired workers. They introduced a national minimum wage so workers could earn more. They created loan and grant programs to help small businesses survive and grow. The results were remarkable. The economy bounced back fast. GDP growth hit 11.6% in 2021, then 20.4% in 2022. That is double-digit growth 2 years in a row. Growth continued at 3.3% in 2023, then 4.3% in 2024. For consecutive years of economic growth, unemployment fell from sky-high levels to just 10.8% by 2024, the lowest rate in St. Lucia's recorded history. By early 2025, unemployment even dropped into single digits for the first time ever. The government started paying off old debts. They reduced outstanding bills by 700% compared to 2021. They completed construction projects that had been delayed for years. Tourism came roaring back. By 2024, visitor arrivals surpassed pre-pandemic levels from 2019. Hotels were full again. Restaurants were busy. Shops were selling. Foreign investors started pouring money into St. Lucia. Over $3 billion in foreign direct investment came in since Philip took office. New hotels, resorts, and construction projects started going up. The government also invested heavily in public infrastructure. They renovated schools that were falling apart. They rebuilt police stations. They fixed community centers. They started work on a new state-of-the-art police headquarters that will cost $40 million. One of Philip's biggest promises was to finish St. Jude Hospital. The original hospital caught fire years ago, and patients had been waiting for a replacement. Philip secured $75 million in financing from the Saudi Fund for Development. Construction moved forward on a brand new, modern, fully equipped hospital at the original site. Philip promised it would open in 2025, and he kept that promise. The new hospital features 12 buildings with the latest medical equipment. It is a symbol of hope for St. Lucians who deserve quality healthcare. The International Monetary Fund noticed what Philip was doing. In March 2025, after their annual review of St. Lucia's economy, the IMF endorsed Philip's economic policies. They said St. Lucia's economy had normalized and was performing well. They praised the government's fiscal management. The World Bank and other international agencies also gave positive reports. Philip had pulled off something remarkable. He took a broken economy and fixed it, but not everyone is celebrating. Opposition critics say the growth numbers are inflated. They point out that when you crash 24% in 1 year, any recovery looks impressive. They say inflation is higher than the government admits. They claim people are still struggling with the high cost of living. Teachers went on strike demanding better pay. Some people say the economic gains have not reached everyone. The opposition United Workers' Party says crime is too high, prices are too expensive, and the government is not transparent enough. The debt to GDP ratio has climbed to 74% under Philip's watch, higher than it was before the pandemic. Now let's talk about Philip's personal life. This is where things get interesting because Philip is extremely private. Unlike many politicians who love the spotlight, Philip keeps his family life out of the news. He has one daughter named Lucia Pierre. Beyond that, very little is known about his wife or family. There are no glamorous Instagram accounts, no magazine interviews about his home, no public appearances with his spouse at fancy events. Philip believes his work should speak for itself, not his personal life. Some people appreciate this. They say politicians should focus on governing, not becoming celebrities. Others say it makes Philip seem distant and hard to connect with. Either way, Philip has maintained this approach throughout his career. His focus stays on policy, numbers, economics, and results. He is not the guy who gives emotional speeches that make people cry. He is the guy who explains budget figures and GDP growth rates. That is his style, and he is not changing it. Philip does not come from wealth. His parents were a teacher and a policeman. He built his career through education and hard work. As Prime Minister, he earns a government salary, but the exact figure is not publicly disclosed in detail. St. Lucian prime ministers and ministers have historically been paid significantly less than permanent secretaries, leading to periodic debates about fair compensation. In 2020, the previous government approved salary increases for ministers, with the Prime Minister's office receiving approximately 65,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars in basic salary plus allowances. Philip has been in politics since 1997, serving in various ministerial roles, which means he has earned a steady government income for nearly 3 decades. He also ran his own business consulting firm for years. The claim of a $7 million political fortune in the title is not verified by available public records or financial disclosures. What we do know is that Philip is a dedicated public servant who has spent over 30 years in government and opposition. He has held many important positions. He served as Deputy Prime Minister, Tourism Minister, Infrastructure Minister, and Finance Minister. He has represented Castries East for 28 years. He has never been involved in major scandals. He has a reputation for honesty and competence. He is not a flashy politician. He is an administrator, an economist, a problem solver. On November 9, 2025, Philip made a major announcement. He addressed the nation on television and radio. He said he had advised the Governor General to dissolve Parliament the next day, November 10th. He called for general elections to be held on Monday, December 1st, 2025. Nomination day would be November 21st. The political battle was officially on. Philip is 71 years old now. He is seeking a second term as Prime Minister. He is running against Alain Chastanet, the former Prime Minister who led the United Workers' Party. This is the same man Philip defeated in 2021 by a massive 13-4 margin. Philip is confident. At a town hall meeting in New York in early November, he told the diaspora that when elections are called, his party will win by one of the largest margins. He believes his record speaks for itself. For consecutive years of GDP growth, unemployment at historic lows, major infrastructure projects completed, healthcare improved, pensions increased, subsidies for families, business support programs. He points to these achievements and asks voters if they want to continue moving forward or go backward. The opposition is fighting hard. Alain Chastanet and the United Workers' Party are attacking Philip on crime, cost of living, and transparency. They say the government has failed to control gang violence. They say grocery prices are too high. They say ordinary people are not feeling the economic growth Philip talks about. They want their power back. The race is expected to be competitive. Political analysts say this election will be close. The voting population is fairly evenly split. There are swing voters who could go either way. The middle-of-the-road voters who used to support smaller parties are now deciding between the two major parties. Both sides are holding rallies. Both are making promises. Both are criticizing each other. Philip held a massive rally at the Castries market steps, a famous political gathering place known as the People's University. Thousands of supporters came out to cheer for him. He spoke about his record. He promised more growth, more jobs, lower electricity costs, and no new taxes. He said his government will continue putting people first. The opposition held their own rallies in different towns, drawing their own crowds. The stakes are high. If Philip wins, he will have 5 more years to continue his economic programs and solidify his legacy. If he loses, his time as prime minister will be remembered as a brief but successful rescue mission during a crisis. Either way, Philip J Pierre has already made his mark on St. Lucia's history. He took over during the worst economic collapse in modern times. He implemented policies that brought growth back. He reduced unemployment to record lows. He paid down debts. He built infrastructure. He restored international confidence in St. Lucia's economy, from a teacher's salary to the Prime Minister's office. From a small neighborhood in Castries East to leading a nation, Philip's journey shows what education and dedication can achieve. He is not a charismatic speaker. He is not a social media star. He does not have a glamorous lifestyle that people gossip about. He is a numbers guy, an economist, a manager who gets things done quietly and efficiently. Some people find that boring. Others find it refreshing. In a world full of politicians who talk big and deliver little, Philip talks small and delivers big. The December 1st election will decide his future. Will St. Lucian voters reward him for pulling the country out of economic disaster? Or will they punish him for rising prices and crime? Will they believe his promises of continued growth? Or will they take a chance on the opposition? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Philip J. Pierre proved that a quiet, competent economist can accomplish extraordinary things when given the chance. He showed that you do not need to be loud to be effective. You do not need to be flashy to get results. You just need to know what you are doing, work hard, and stay focused on serving the people. As Philip campaigns across St. Lucia these final weeks before the election, he carries with him the weight of 4 years of economic recovery, the hopes of thousands who found jobs under his watch, and the criticism of those who say it is not enough. He is the man who rebuilt St. Lucia's economy from the ashes of COVID-19. Now he is asking voters to let him finish the job. On December 1st, 2025, St. Lucians will give their answer. Think Philip deserves another term? Or is it time for change? Drop your thoughts below.